Hello everyone, and welcome to another IMCO with me, Jonathan Chan. Thank you for joining me today as we talk about what topped the news this past week, and for me to provide you with a Christian opinion. That's what IMCO means, in my Christian opinion. Now, just to let you know, this is only my opinion, and so take it or leave it, and if you want to chime in or have any questions or would like to share your opinions, please feel free to send me a message either through the Facebook comment section or through our website at www.companyofdisciples.com. So, what topped the news this past week? Well, other than more COVID restrictions and other than what's happening in the elections down in the States, or had already happened down in the States, we also had one other thing that topped the news that was local and should be of a concern to all of us. And it was with regards to the BC Trespass Act. Now, for those of you who do not know what that act is, it's basically the ability for business owners to be able to put up a sign that looks like this right up here. If you see that triangular sign on their storefront, and if there were any homeless or any loiterers that happened to be blocking their entrances, if there was some patrolling police officers, these police officers would be able to have the right and the permission to remove these loiterers or homeless people away. And what I read in the article, which I included in the link below on this IMCO, is that these officers would direct these individuals to social services and properly care for them. Now, you think this is a great idea, right? For police officers to escort homeless people to direct them to the right resources. However, if you read the article, which I included there, it's the articles from CTV News, Vancouver. One of the advocates, advocates against homelessness, says that this unfairly targets people. It unfairly targets homeless people and poor people. And is she right? Well, that's what our IMCO is going to talk about today. It's the whole idea about private property, especially for business owners, and especially for us Christians who do own businesses such as retail fronts, and what to do with people who loiter in front of our stores, who block our entrances and who may be hostile to our clients and may be preventing us from doing business and could possibly damage property. All right, let's begin. Some of you may not know who I am, and I would like to give you some context of why I feel that I could share a little bit of my own experience and my opinion fairly, hopefully. My very first job out of university was to manage a store in downtown Vancouver on Seymour and Smythe. That's closer to the east side of downtown. A lot of mornings when I have the morning shift to open the store, there will be times when I encounter homeless people. And some of them would be sleeping in our garbage Smithright, those large Smithrights, which one time my receiver and I almost squashed a person while throwing a safe away, a big, large safe into the garbage can. Yes, apparently one of our vendors told us just to huck it. So we threw it into the garbage can without realizing that there was somebody in there. Thankfully, that individual did not get hurt. We completely missed him, which was thankful, and that was it. There were other times, many times actually, many that I don't want to remember, yet some of the really stitched into my head is when my receiver and I opened the receiving door, and would be a homeless person in front of us doing his business, like defecating our entrance, doing his business. And unfortunately, most of the time, my receiver and I witness the business end of that business as opposed to the front. And so, again, it's like it's blocking our trucks, and now we have to clean it. And it seems like these individuals do not care in the world of what they're doing. So defecating our property, defecating our entranceways with urine and feces. And also, sometimes we have folks that come in and just stay at the back of the store, which we, try to be nice, and we understand their circumstances, and they're looking for a place to be away from the elements, especially during winter time. However, they are hostile to our customers. And so there were some cases where they threw pens at them. There are some cases they stole from us. Loss prevention is a huge issue back then in our store, and just the whole act of just the whole act of this is this navigation of what to do with these folks, because partly you don't want to be mean, you don't want to kick them out, you don't want to remove them off your entrance forcefully, but also on the other side, they're hostile to your clients, and they're also preventing you from doing your business. And they're also ruining your property, because this is private property. Because beyond the sidewalk, that's public. But within the boundaries of a sidewalk, and within our store, that's our property. And so I understand the business side. The reason why I'm sharing you this story is because for some of you who may be listening or watching this episode of IMCO, you may be telling me, it's like, John, you have no clue what I'm going through. I'm a business owner. Do you know how hard it is to navigate this issue right now? I do. And the reason why I'm sharing this story to you is because I understand where you're coming from. And I'm not just this pastor who just happens to be a pastor and never worked in his life in the corporate world. I have for 15 years. And 5 of those 15 years was actually managing a store in downtown. And so that's my experience on the business side. For 5 years, I've experienced this, from the IMCO to downtown. Now, how about the social side? Well, during those 5 years, I also volunteered for 2 organizations. One is UGM, and I volunteer often there, almost once a week, at their New West branch, I think, or just call it the location, at their New West location. And mind you, if Bill Wong is listening to this, he is such a treasure. He is a wonderful person, a beautiful person, patient, loving, humble, and just has this love for humanity that you would never think. Like, he is so patient with the folks that come in. So I volunteer for him once a week at UGM in the New West location. I also volunteer as a bus pastor that for almost 8 years of it during that time. When we would get on a school bus, and we would venture around Strathcona and all the other areas in the east side, near the southeast, northeast of downtown, in the outskirts of downtown, to pick up children, of course with their parents' consent, and to bring them to a church to have events, like first of all, some games, some skits, and also feed them lunch. And give them a meal. And after the meal, we would put them back in, load them back in the bus and drop them off back to their parents. I also do a lot of one-off projects, like Out of the Cold, and also to volunteer to hand out socks, warm socks in the downtown east side. So I have that element as well. I have that world as well, just to let all you folks know. I'm just not particularly focused on the business side. I also have the social side as well. I understand the whole circumstances of where people are. And I've learned to gain that empathy for others and not to be so judgmental. So I got these two worlds and I'm balancing it, right? And not only that, I'm Christian. And if you're a Christian out there, you would know that we are mandated to take care of our poor, take care of the disadvantaged, and love them to death, right? So what to do? What to do? So during my time as a managing the store in the downtown east side, I've learned a few things as I was navigating through this for those 5 years. When I mentioned Nanaimo, yes, Nanaimo isn't that great either. The island is perfect, but some of my friends who live on the island would tell you that there are also homelessness in Nanaimo, and sometimes it could be worse. And so after those 5 years of managing a store, I've learned a few things, and I try to navigate between, okay, what should a Christian who happens to own a business, who has a private property, what can they do to show love practically to the homeless, even though it may not be, it's a thankless job, it's a thankless thing. Because you're not going to get any thank you so much type of thing. You're not going to get any words of affirmation. You're not even going to get any love languages back, all right? Because they aren't able to. So don't expect that. That's number one. Don't expect that. But what can we do practically? And I've learned a few things. And so on my second year, the second year out of the 5 years that I was managing the store, I just implemented 3 things that I found that were practical and so I hope that I can commend them to you or recommend them to you to see if you, a business owner who happens to be a Christian, who happens to know the mandates of taking care of the poor and who's struggling to navigate between the two worlds, if you could find these things helpful as well. And so here they are. Here are my takeaways. Mind you, if you see a chat box on the left of me or on your left, that is actually a chat box that you could chat with me and drop me a line. Just go to my website at companyofdisciples.com, scroll down to the live stream, and you can enter your chat comments in that chat box, and I'll see it right here. But let's move on. My takeaways on what I've learned in my 5 years as managing a store. Especially with regards to homeless people who are loitering in front of your entrance and such. Number 1, we should always approach, and this is a given, to approach the poor and the homeless and the disadvantaged with empathy and a graceful attitude, not judgmental. Let's not get into the idea of just presupposing or being presumptuous on why they are there and the reasons why they're there. Ultimately, as Christian, we have to approach all things, all peoples, with empathy and grace. And so that's my rule of thumb for myself when I try to devise some way of practically engaging and resolving the issues that I had when I was managing my store. And so I was convicted by my mentors that empathy and grace are the central tenets when it comes to running a business as a Christian. Empathy and grace. Okay, so that's my moral compass right there. So move on to 2, the practicality. I don't know if you guys do this anymore. Back then we had Rolodexes. Now you know how old I am. But now we have Google Keep on here on this phone, so I use that. Try to keep as many numbers of social services. What I did, because I volunteered at UGM for quite a while, and because I know I have some colleagues at Salvation Army, and also I know a few people at the city of Vancouver. Try to take as many numbers as you can for social services, because when we encounter, I did this now, whenever I encountered homeless people or poor people in front of my entrance, they're in trouble. Okay, they're not there just because they like it. No, they're there because they're in need, and therefore, I would tell them allow me to call up the various organizations to come and pick you up and provide you with shelter, temporary shelter. And so I do. So I have like phone numbers of pastors of churches in that area who can provide shelter, short-term shelter. I have the numbers of the YMCA. I have the numbers of UGM. I have the numbers of the Indigenous Center, which is, I can't remember the name, but there's an Indigenous Center in downtown. The name just skipped out of me. But I have these numbers. And once I see these scenarios that are happening in front of me, hey, I have a cell phone. I'll just call up these numbers and see if they could help me out. I will not disturb the folks. I would tell them that, hey, allow me to call some of the social services to help you, to provide you with a safer place to first spend the night, and as opposed to be on the street. So that's the number 2 important thing that I found very helpful, was to keep these numbers and continue to build this Rolodex, or this virtual Rolodex. So even till this day, I'm a pastor now, part-time, and I continue to build this Rolodex because really, I'm not trained in all aspects. There's no such thing as a pastor of jack of all trades. No, pastors are more like a triage nurse, where we receive people with that have needs, and we direct them to the people we know. And so, for instance, if people need counseling, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a licensed counselor, nor am I a psychiatrist. But I do know folks in counseling and psychiatry, and I would direct them to those folks. Regardless whether they're Christian or not, hey, they're professionals, and they studied this, they practiced this. I studied scripture. That has nothing to do with counseling. And so I would direct them to these folks. Same here. I realized that I am ill-equipped. I only know how to manage a store. I was trained to manage a store. I studied business and economics. I cannot take care of their needs, of their current needs, whether it be addiction, mental health, or just financial troubles. But I can definitely direct them and help them by connecting them with the right people. Lastly, this one is actually from somebody, a friend of mine who I know, and maybe some of you may know. She was a recipient of the Freedom of the City Award in 2014. Her name is Judy Graves, and she's been an advocate to reduce or to eliminate homelessness for the past 33 years. And she's still doing it even though she's retired. And so I've learned a lot from having discussions with Judy Graves, Miss Graves, or Judy Graves, or she would like me to call her Judy anyway. And I realized that there's a lot of other practical things that they would need. And the best way to provide care for them is to actually provide tangible stuff. So whether it be blankets, warm blankets, cardboard, and other items, because why they're there under my awning is because they lack the necessities to keep warm or to shelter them from the elements. And so if we are able to help them to be mobile again by relocating, whether it be providing blankets, cardboard so that they won't freeze to death on the sidewalk, or just other items that they can get back and move, then that will be great as well. So when I was at the Staples, this is before I met Judy, but she just affirmed that of what I did. We have a lot of cardboard and bubble wrap. And so that's awesome for those folks who are homeless. They appreciated our gesture. And we have a lot of that insulation for the furniture that actually passes for really good blankets. And so we give those out as well, because we're going to throw them out anyway through the recycler. And so we might as well put them into use by providing that for the homeless. And so those are the 3 practical things that I've learned throughout those past 5 years and continue to implement whenever I have the opportunity. And I also pass these practical things that we can do to others. And so if you're a Christian and you happen to own a business, or actually the other way around, what my mentor would say. If you happen to be a business owner, but also happen to be a Christian, and you are wondering how you could navigate this in a Christian way, how you would be able to approach this issue of homeless people loitering in front of your businesses, in your private property, then I recommend these three approaches that you could use to provide proper care in a Christian way. Lastly, just to a final word. Back to the article. I agree with the spokeswoman for the Vancouver Police Department. They are trying hard. Like, you must admire and you must admit and and just be thankful that they are taking the effort to be the conduit of connecting the homeless with the proper social services. However, after doing much volunteering with the various organizations, the police do give a unintended message to the homeless and to the poor, that they're out to get them, that they're out to arrest them and throw them in jail. That's the unintended message that people receive. Heck, if you were pulled over by a cop for speeding, what's the unintended message there? Like, even before the cop even says a word, basically, you're in trouble and you're going to get a ticket or get punished, right? And so think about a homeless person or a poor person. When they are approached by a police officer, they won't be thinking, oh, they would connect me to a social services. That's not what they're thinking right away. What are they thinking right away? That they are in trouble and that they will be punished. No matter how hard the police officer is trying to vocally tell them that that's not the case. And so, I appreciate that the VPD for doing what they are doing, and they should continue doing that. However, as citizens, you and I, who happen to run a business and are also Christian, we need to take a step forward as well, and to practice hospitality, to be hospitable citizens and show empathy and grace towards the homeless and the poor. Because we do not give that type of message to these folks. When we have no uniform or badge or a gun or a weapon and no cop car, when we approach them just the way we are and approach people with grace and empathy, we do not come across as judgmental or ready to punish them. No, we come across as people who do care. And if we could take the initiative, and so that the cops don't need to do it, because they have better things to do, really. I think they have better things to do than to address this. This is our responsibility as citizens, as fellow human beings, and we are to approach the homeless and the poor with empathy and grace. And I hope that these three things that I recommend to all of you would be helpful and would help you navigate between how to be a Christian, how to run your business, and how to care for the homeless and the poor at the same time. And final word is with grace and empathy. Well, that is it for me. My name is Jonathan Chan, and I am so glad that you can join me for another IMCO. I hope you enjoyed this episode as we navigated through what it means, how to navigate the two worlds of running a business and being Christian. If you have any questions, please email me at companyofdisciples.com. Once again, it's companyofdisciples.com. If you have any opinions or would like to share your opinions or you disagree with me, hey, it's okay to disagree with me. Send me a message through our website. And also, if you are interested, I am a pastor, like I mentioned before. If you're interested in joining a live Zoom worship service, visit cruciblechurch.com. And there you'll be able to find the live stream of the worship service on Sunday, or better yet, join us for a live Zoom worship by emailing community@cruciblechurch.com. Once again, it's community@cruciblechurch.com, and they will send you the Zoom coordinates for the Sunday's worship service. Till next time, have a blessed week, and I hope to see you again next week as we tackle another hot topic in our local news. Bye-bye.